Probably the biggest manipulator in your life is going to be your automatic response system. Manipulation is probably the greatest fear for a lot of people, being manipulated, being controlled. It's very common in our life. We have people that are big things, big factors in our life that manipulate us, and the automatic response system, of course, is the biggest manipulator, and it uses it, obviously, as I've said many times, to control you, because that's its job, is to keep control of you. We can't be Wapamo, and we can't feel what we call freedom, which is a part of Sakapatua. We can't feel that and be manipulated and controlled at the same time. We can't be Wapamo and have the automatic response system manipulating us, or people in our lives manipulating us. The automatic response system is a tyrant. It's a dictator. It rules by absolute control. If the automatic response system were a person or a government, it would be like Kim Jong-un. And again, that's because to the automatic response system, its best chances of keeping you alive and keeping you in existence is to have absolute control over you. And so we tend to do that, our teachers in schools tend to have absolute control over us. Our bosses at work tend to get control over us through manipulation. We tend to do that with our spouses and our children, and it's just something we've all become so accustomed to. And the type of manipulation that we're exposed to as children tends to be the type of person that we end up marrying in our life, simply because it feels familiar, it feels comfortable, it feels like home. If you're a man and all the females in your life tended to manipulate you by making you feel like, you did something wrong and you're guilty, and you always have to be apologizing, and you always have to be explaining why you victimized them, then you're probably going to marry a woman that feels as though she's been a victim from men and never got her apology, and you're going to end up being the one who gave her that apology. For example, it's pretty common today among Western women to feel like victims, and it's pretty common among Western men to suffer this form of manipulation, where they're always wrong, always guilty, and have to be apologizing. And of course, a lot of this is because people want to be sure. The automatic response system wants the certainty of love. And if you're sorry and you're wrong and you have your head bowed and you're coming towards this person to apologize, then, well, you are under their control. Obviously, you're wrong, you're guilty, you're apologizing to them, you're making up for something. They have control over you. You're not going to leave them. That's one type of manipulation. I mean, there's I don't think I have to go on and on. I don't mean for this to sound like a rant, but it's just, manipulation's so complex, because if you're aware that you're being manipulated, then you're not being manipulated. That's why it's so confusing for us, and it's something we've all experienced, we all know, we're all familiar with it. It's very difficult to pick apart, because again, if you're aware that you're being manipulated, then you're not being successfully manipulated. But the question is how to be free and how to conquer manipulation, how to end manipulation, how to beat it off. Now, as Wapamo, we take only that which we are given and absolutely nothing else. So it's very important that your actions, being Wapamo is two parts. One, understanding, believing. Two, doing. So it's very important that what you do with the intention to take only that which you've been given, absolutely nothing else. and that your intention is not to in turn manipulate the person to get them to behave the way that you want them to behave, because now you're taking that which you've not been given. So let's just take, for example, a very common manipulation where somebody feels like they have to keep apologizing to someone else. Well, is that person giving you a fair shot in life? Is that person giving you, let's just call it, fairness? No, they are not. So don't attempt to take it. Make sure your action is not under the intention to get them to treat you fairly. Take only that which they give you and absolutely nothing else. Now, your question, remember, you don't have to take anything. So let's say you're sitting outside on the beach and the sun is really hot. Well, is the sun giving you shade? No. The sun's burning the living crap out of you. Do you have to sit there and take it? No, you can stand up and walk under a tree. So you can make a choice. Do you want to spend the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life apologizing to this person? Is that something you want to settle for? Or do you not want to spend the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life apologizing to this person? It's hard to believe that you're free and not a slave if you constantly have to spend the rest of your life apologizing to someone. I would highly suggest, doesn't mean you have to end this relationship, doesn't mean that you have to change them, because of course as Wapamo we would never do that, but you don't have to take it. You can choose to not accept it. So what that means is, this person's giving you unfairness, take only that. So later, maybe when they come to you and want to make you feel good, or want to pump you up, or want to get behind you or support you, don't take that. Don't participate with them with that. Don't interact with them with that. Only interact with them with what they give you, because later when they're supporting you or pumping you up, that's part of the manipulation. That's part of, you can earn this behavior, which you like, which is pleasant to you. Like you like it when I pump you up. Well, you can earn this behavior by apologizing to me. See, when you apologize to me, I will give you this. So one, stop apologizing. Two, don't participate in the reward behavior, because that's the main component to being manipulated. There's the, you do what I want and I will reward you. So don't accept the reward is one way to end it. And don't do the action that they want you to do, which in this case, in this example, would be apologizing to them yet again. Apologizing to the victim yet again for the, horrible, abusive things you've apparently done to the victim. Now, what's going to happen here is this situation is going to change very quickly. Rather than spending the next 20 years as a slave, you're going to spend the next 20 minutes to 20 days with increasing pressure in the relationship until it explodes. And there's going to be a very radical shift, a very radical change in the relationship. And whatever it's supposed to be, whatever La Manta itself has laid out for you, is going to become apparent. That's what's going to become your new life. And that's a life of freedom, which is a life that we all want. Take a master-slave relationship. Well, if you want to stop being a slave, then the answer is to stop being a slave. So let's say the master says, stand up. What does the slave do? the slave doesn't stand up. Let's say the master wants to say, hey, come on, slave, let's have dinner tonight and play Yahtzee. What does the slave do? Declines. Because that behavior, that, sit down together and have dinner and play Yahtzee, that's a earned behavior. That's part of the manipulation. That's not something that was given. That's pleasure that's given for jumping through the correct hoops. So if you're taking that pleasure that's earned, then you're not taking what you've been given, because you haven't been given that. So see, it's actually not the manipulator who's Sinikawa here necessarily, it's you. You're Sinikawa because you're taking that which you haven't been given, you're taking that which has been earned. And by doing that, you're Sinikawa, and this is why you're a slave, and this is why you're suffering, and this is why you don't feel the component that we might call freedom, which is a component of Sakapatua. So whoever, if you're currently being oppressed by manipulation, you probably know who's doing it to you, you know how they're doing it, you know why they're doing it. So what you need to do now is make an action plan. Take only that which you're given and absolutely nothing else. Are you given you've done something wrong, now you need to apologize from them? Take only that. Do they come up to you later and want to sit down and chat? Don't take that. Don't take that pleasure. Don't be the prison guard. Don't allow that pleasurable moment to exist, because now, as soon as you take that, you're Sinikawa. You've now taken that which you haven't been given. And when you don't take that, watch the reaction on the other person. Watch what happens in your relationship. Very quickly, the water's going to start boiling. Let it boil more. Don't stop it. The harder and quicker it boils, the better. That means you're coming to a resolution. That means this is going to resolve itself very soon. This is exactly what you want. Now, you can also try to turn the heat up yourself, but just make sure that the intention's correctly. Make sure you're not being Sinikawa. Make sure you're turning up the temperature to find freedom, and not so that you start manipulating the other person. Don't start taking that which you haven't been given. So don't say, well, I'm going to make them feel guilty. That'll teach them a lesson, and then they'll want to do this, or that. See, now you're the manipulator. Now you're taking that which you haven't been given. Now you're trying to make them give you something that they're not giving you. But if you want to turn up the heat by maybe saying, well, I'm gonna tell them I'm not going to talk to them until they apologize to me about this. Just make sure your intention's correct. Make sure you're doing that for freedom and not to try to get anything from them, but just to say more of, I'm not taking this from you anymore. I will not accept this. And again, I think we all, if you're in a situation of manipulation, you know how to turn that temperature up. It's probably real easy. You can say, oh yeah, I could just say this or do this and that temperature will go through the roof. What I say is, do it. Just do it for the right reason. Like I said before, make sure you're doing it for the correct intention. Turn that water up. I say let it blow. Let that lid blow, because another part of manipulation is fear of what's going to come if you don't jump through the hoops. Bring it out. The sooner, the better. The bigger, the louder the bang, the louder the boom, the louder the explosion, the better. Or just be a slave. I mean, it's a choice. I would rather the plantation burn down than be a slave. Let's just blow the whole damn thing up. And I know there's fear, there's questions, you either believe in Lamanta itself and its path for you, or you don't. That's where, you know, part of this is believing and part of this is doing. If you don't believe, then you're probably not going to do, because there is fear. Well, what will happen? What will they do? What if they leave me? What if, you know, we have kids and we have a mortgage and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And, you know, or my wife will leave me and she'll take the kids and they'll start doing drugs and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's again, it's a good sign that you're not Wapamo, that you're Sinikawa, that you don't believe in Lamanta itself. So first you have to decide if you believe, and if you believe, then you do. And blow it up as big as you can for one purpose. So you can be Wapamo. So you can live in Alondaka. So you can collect Sakapatua. And in addition to Amra, overcoming Amra, just overcoming the ARS is going to be one of your biggest challenges to that. And of course, the ARS is going to itself use manipulation, and it's going to encourage you and help people manipulate you to control you. Yes, your ARS can convince you to continue being manipulated by someone if it helps the ARS control you. It can even teach other ARSs, they can communicate with each other. It can teach them how to manipulate you. Because one thing that people who are bullied a lot, or especially very obviously manipulated, is no matter where they move, no matter what situation they change, no matter what partner they change, they keep finding themselves in the same situation. They keep finding themselves under the same manipulation spell. Well, it's not a coincidence. Your ARS is literally teaching other ARSs how to manipulate and control you. And the people who are doing the manipulating are being rewarded with pleasure by their ARSs for doing it. You know, working together as a team here. We're not individual humans on this planet. We are a collective species. So you got to remember the ARS has two objectives: keep you alive, and as a greater mission, keep the human species alive. ARSs communicate with each other. But you can be free if you're Wapamo and you live in Alondaka and you collect Sakapatua. We all want to be free, and it is possible. And one of the best ways to start is always the best thing to do. Every day, take only that which you've been given and absolutely nothing else. Sounds simple until you start actually putting it to your life, like in this way, in the terms of people manipulating you. So remember, figure out what the person's giving you, take only that, and then decide, is that how you want to live the rest of your life? If no, simply stop taking it, because we have an option. It's not take whatever you're given, it's take only that which you're given. So stop taking it. When you stop taking it, things will explode. And that will guide you towards your path that Lamont itself has laid out. Don't let the fear or or maybe even logical ideas that can enter your head of things that could happen. You either believe Lamanta itself has a path for you, you either believe that you can be Wapamo, or you don't. You have to make a decision there. don't have any intention to manipulate the other person or take something from them that they haven't given you. But you'd be surprised how quickly people can change and stop manipulating you too. Most people manipulating you don't even know they're manipulating you. Just like a lot of bullies don't know they're really being bullies. And as soon as you stand up to them, they immediately stop and can become your friends. So you'd be surprised what will happen. So I hope that's encouraging, because I know it's one of the greatest fears that all humans have, is the fear of manipulation. And I know it's something that everyone's dealing with every day. And it is something that's very easy to overcome. And if you have any questions about that, or in your particular situation you can't figure out what it means to take only that which you've been given, contact me, Facebook, the website, email, whatever, and I'm happy to figure it out together. All right, thank you for your time.